A very good afternoon to you, and welcome to today's edition of Joy Business Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and is brought to us today by Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and runs all through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation, Joy 99.7. My name, as always, is Yaw Anim Barnafo, and I'm glad to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. Last week, we started a rather exciting 13-week series on agribusiness here on Masterclass, trying to put a bit more focus on agriculture and trying to bring some practicality into the information that we share with you. We're going to be talking about things like snail farming, mushroom farming, poultry, and practical things that you can do either as a main business or as a side business. Last week, we had an exciting conversation. For those of us who missed it, please go back to our Facebook page by all means and watch that conversation. We had the privilege of being in the studio last week with Enyonam Manye. Enyonam, good afternoon to you if you're listening to us. Enyonam is the CEO of Count on Crops, and she shared with us great work that was going on in that field of agriculture and people who are taking various endeavors on and were doing great for themselves. Today, we want to move on into one of the topical areas, which is the area of snail farming. And I'm going to say this slowly so I don't bite my tongue, but I hear that the botanical name for snail farming is Heliciculture. Heliciculture. If you haven't heard that word before, you've learned something new for your vocabulary today. But we're going to be talking about snail farming today. What exactly is snail farming? Are all types of snail edible? Are some more edible than others? How do snails feature in our diet, even as a people, or in our agricultural value chain or in our food chain? These days, when you go to certain eat-outs and you want to ask for snail or pieces of snail on your cuisine, you find that it can come in rather pricey, and sometimes it's very expensive as well, but it adds to the flavor. And I did a bit of small research on some of the nutritional values of having snails in our food. And this is according to Wikipedia. It says that snails are a good source of protein with low fat. They are also a source of iron, of calcium, and of vitamin A, and also of other minerals. And vitamin A, I beg your pardon, helps to boost our immune systems to fight off diseases and also strengthens our eyesight. So the value goes on and on and on and on. Today, we're going to be talking about heliciculture or snail farming. We have with us again, we always like to bring people who are doing, or should I say, walking the talk. So we have a Ghanaian farmer. He's many things as well, but he's into farming now of snails, and he's going to be walking us through the process. He's also the CEO of Trisolace Company and the current CEO of Agric Farms. He's also been the driving force behind innovative agricultural solutions and is currently spearheading full-scale production on a 36-acre plot of land in Ebri in Pokrom, where his vision of sustainable urban farming is coming to life. His CV goes on and on. This one, I can't compete with it because it is specific to purpose. But one of the things that excited me about his CV, and when I was speaking to him before the show, is that you would sit there and say, oh, snail farming, oh, how much money is it going to make me? He currently has a company, he's 7 years old. He has a company that is currently employing 24 Ghanaians, and his revenue stream for last year, listen to this one carefully, his revenue stream for last year alone, producing snails alone, was 5.9 million Ghana cedis. 5.9 million Ghana cedis. So if you say there are no jobs, snails are a good avenue to start making some money. My guest for this afternoon, Felix Nyarko Appiah. Felix.
Hi.
There's money in the system.
Yes.
Yet to see castle. I mean, we're excited to have you. I mean, I think that this whole agribusiness series is to be able to bring some practical information to our people so that we understand and know where to look, what to look for, and how to do it. So today we're talking about snail farming. Sounds very simple, but 5.9 million Ghana cedis a year,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it's an avenue that people can go into. It's not saturated yet, is it?
No, it isn't. Because there's still quite a lot that we haven't touched on, especially the value chain.
Exactly.
So we are just touching on one point of the value chain, and it's an extensive network of value that you can add
Just before we
to it.
came on air, I was having a chat with Felix, and I was talking to him about some of the things I had read up. Someone asked me last night when I posted it and said, yeah, when you go on air today, ask Felix when you get interactive that, is he farming the snails for the meat or for the slime? Now, for all my sisters and my mothers who prepare snail at home, you go through a tortuous process to wash the slime away, either with lime, with tomatoes. Some use corn dough, all sorts of things to wash it away. Apparently, snail slime is big business. and you will tell us more about it later, isn't it?
Definitely.
But Felix has obliged us a couple of slides, so we're showing them on Facebook as well. By all means, do go to our Facebook page, and we're streaming live, and you can be a part of it. At some point, when we get interactive, also, we'll give you the chance to also be a part of the conversation. But otherwise, Felix, talk to us from the beginning to the end. How do we do this? How have you done it? What is the story?
Okay, so thank you for having me, and thank you for this awesome program. I followed last week, and it was awesome. I really enjoy that people give the opportunity to us farmers who would have otherwise been relegated to the background, basically. Yes, I tell people that even if we get too advanced, we'll still need oils from organic sources just to, grease our parts. Indeed. So definitely farmers cannot be done away with. Indeed. So yeah, definitely. So
I'm excited. So let's go straight to it. It's your field.
Yes.
What is this thing about? How do we get involved? What have you done? Tell us your story first, what you've done, and then you can tell us some of the things we need to know and how we can also be a part of it.
Awesome. So we started in 2015 after university education. Everyone was looking for jobs, basically same here, same old story. But wherever I would go, I would see my fellow students basically same way. And then I did a survey, so that was the time I chanced on something called design thinking. So design thinking is basically solving problems, going to the source of the problems rather than sitting at home and saying everybody needs shoes, so I'll produce shoes or something similar. So I did a survey.
Say that again slowly, because I think a lot of my listeners and my friends and my contemporaries, we find ourselves in that space.
Yes.
Where we do it because everybody does it. You remember the check story back in the 90s?
Yeah. Everyone was doing it.
Unfortunately, it hasn't changed. Everybody's doing it because it works.
Exactly.
But design thinking, please talk about that.
So design thinking is asking the people that are having the problems what you can do to solve that problem. So it's more specific instead of thinking that, because I see someone without shoes, then definitely they will buy shoes if I come. Exactly. So you might not know. So you have to do the design thinking approach. So we did exactly that by doing a survey. So we asked all the members of our class, for instance, would you want to work for yourself? And if yes, what would you want to do? Because there wasn't any jobs available that we could all fit in. And then be successful, basically. So after the survey, we saw that most of them wanted to work for themselves. But the downside was that, one, land was a problem. Land tenure system in Ghana is very poor. We can't do quite a lot with the very little lands that we have. So, and then they were interested in agric because they knew that the future of all other things had sailed for Ghana and basically Africa, especially technology. There's very little we can do to make a dent in the technology story. So we said, okay, we have viable lands everywhere in Ghana and in Africa. So if we want to change or tell our own story, then it has to be agric. So, but the downside is that most of the people we were speaking to were staying with families and loved ones, and couldn't do anything that was invasive, smelling, or would deface the place that they were staying.
They didn't have spaces of their own.
Exactly. So we said there were two corporates that we had, rabbits and snails. And fortunate for me, when I'm from a long line of farmers, my grandpa was a cocoa farmer. He was also buying cocoa. So yes. So before you get your school fees, you have to go to the village, put in some work, put in your quota to the whole system, and then you get something back, for school. So whenever I would go, he would cook some palm nut soup, and he would always have snails, even in the dry season. So I asked him, how does he do it? And he said, there's a barrel at the back. He pours, household waste in there, and the snails come to eat. And every time there are snails in there, he just goes to pick. So he was doing a barter trading system with the snails.
Makes the food available.
Exactly.
And then the snails make themselves
and available. They will also make some available to him. And it was a good,
arrangement
for him. So he was doing that. So that made me give me some interest in that, because I forget that if it was that easy, then we could replicate that on a larger scale. So that was when we started.
Right.
So in 2015, We started with just about 50 snails, and then we gave some to friends and families because at that time we didn't have any authority on
So you
snails.
went and bought these 50 snails?
Yes, we bought, and then I also picked some from my grandpa's place as well when I was coming back to the city. So,
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how did you know which type of snails to pick?
well, at that time I was blind. We were just doing everything blindly. We gave it to people. So people were feeding them crackers, biscuits, bread. They were eating all sorts of manner of things, and people were documenting it, especially our friends, and giving us the feedback. So that was how we got to know even the first place what they loved, what could make them thrive, what environments they loved, because some were keeping them in the open area and they would run away. They thought that snails were so slow, they would stay wherever they put them. So that gave us extensive knowledge on where to start and how to even start. So that was the precipice of the whole story of Trisolace.
Right.
And when we came into the system, people were doing snails in small pits, dugouts. They were doing in their old chop box, all that. So there was a big chaos, and we said, okay, if people have tried all others and it has failed, they should try Solace. So a place of comfort and well-being. So if you have tried all others and it has failed, that was how we coined that name, Trisolace. So we wanted to bring some sanity into the industry of snails by providing people with a solace or a structure that could help them raise snails in commercial quantities. Yes.
You talk about the fact that some others who were doing it had challenges where some of the snails were running away, so to say, and so you thought to confine these snails when you started. Were they not burrowing through the soil and getting away either?
Okay, so they can dig, but not that well. So they dig to only hide from the sunlight because they feel vulnerable in the open space. So if you have something that covers them, then they would stay. They wouldn't dig and burrow away like you rightfully said. So they only dig to hide their body. They are not digging to go away from where they are. They're just hiding from the sunlight and predators as well.
Right. Okay. So your first set of 50, what happened from there?
They all died. So.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So
now you can afford to smile about it.
Yes, exactly.
You're
exactly.
earning a revenue stream of 5.9 million, but
exactly.
the first 50 died. All of them.
Yeah, they all died. So, like I said,
You might
we
as well
gave
have
it
made
out.
some palm nut soup with it.
That was the first choice my mom said. My mom said, "Oh, let me prepare some soup for you." I said, "No, we're going to use them for experiment." She didn't understand, so she was like, they will die anyway. So she was waiting for them to die, and apparently they died. But it gave us some much more insight into how to raise them. We knew now that they were much more fragile than we even envisaged them to be. They were much more fragile. So we needed a very delicate ecosystem for them. So that gave us some insight into their raising.
Why did they die?
So one, light. At that time, we didn't know light was sort of an enemy to them, and we also didn't know that light was so food was also one problem. People were giving them, like I said, anything they would find, they would give it to them, salt, pepper, everything, and they were eating it though, but I think it wasn't able to sustain them, and they died. So we lost some due to the environment, harsh weather conditions, and then the enclosures. Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's go to your slide. I think there's some stuff on it that you've written. Let's go ahead and share that, and then I'll continue with my questions subsequently. I think there was something on the slides about the setup, how to set it up. So maybe we can start from there, and then you can talk to us about the importance and the practical steps of the rest of the value chain and all. So just go through your slides for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So snails basically love. They are nocturnal. So most animals that are nocturnal, like rats, like cockroaches. Whenever you turn on the kitchen light, you see them scurrying away. That's because they don't like light. Their eyes are very photosensitive and they don't like the light. So when you are setting up a snail farm or a snail habitat, the number one thing you have to know is that you should shield them away from all sources of light. Light also makes them feel vulnerable because they feel other animals can see them, and possibly predators can also pick them up and then eat them as well. So when you are setting up, we for instance now became the go-to people for structures for raising snails, because we now understood what they like, what they didn't like, and then we're able to create setups that were able to hold snails and even do commercial quantity snails. So we had structures that could even take 2,000 snails at a time, and we had structures that were you could put them anywhere. They weren't invasive or anything. They would just be sitting and the snails would be eating. So we have most structures that we have currently. There are about 3 structures you can do. The one they call the galleries, or the pits that you can dig in the ground and then just arrange something nice and cover it up so that they don't escape. That's the gallery.
When you say something nice, is it biodegradable?
Not necessarily. So you can also use plastic, wood, other things as well. So far as it stops them from running away, escaping. Because people think they are slow, they can't escape. They can really run fast, especially in the night when they are very active. They can run around fast. So when you dig a pit, for instance, in anywhere that is cool, and then you can cover it up with either plywood, a board, something that can cover the pit that you've dug nicely. They will be in there and they will be cozy, so that other animals cannot also pick them up, because lizards eat their eggs. Crows can pick them up and eat them, and then you have dogs and other animals might pick them up, not necessarily to eat them, but maybe displace them, put them somewhere else, and they might run away. So that's one part of it. That setup is called the gallery system.
Okay.
And then there's the wooden structures. So you can make wooden structures any size, any types that you want. And then so far as it's elevated. So the number one and the number 2 enemy as well is insects, especially ants and other insects and other predators. So what you can do is elevate the structure, push it up so that other insects cannot come up, because when you put food in there, other animals are looking for food, definitely. So once they find that there's free food in there, they are going to compete with the snails. Exactly. Right. And then you have your snails. They also don't like ants, because their skin is very fragile. So they don't like ants and other animals, So they will stay away from the food and then might starve to death as well.
I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
Do they drink water?
Yes. Snails actually swim in water. But the thing is, they breathe in air. So if the water is too deep, they might drown as well. I've seen snails drown a lot, but they love water. Whenever you put a bowl or a dish of water in there, you see them swimming in the water, and they drink water as well. Yeah.
So in the farming process, you know how in poultry you would provide the feed and you provide water.
Yeah.
If you had a dog at home, you provide a bowl for food,
yeah,
a bowl for water. In the setup that you speak of, once you've done either the elevated platforms or the dugouts or whichever the profiles you spoke about, do you also deliberately put water in a receptacle for them?
Yes, you have to. So, but it has to be cleaned almost every day, because of when they enter their slime, also they leave their slime, a lot of it, around. So you have to clean it on daily basis, but you have to give them water. But for our system, the commercial one, for instance, we spray mist. So the mist, we turn the water into mist, very small particles, and they settle on the soil like small balls that the snails can go find it and then drink it in that order. So we don't really worry ourselves with cleaning the setup every now and then. So that's the commercial approach of that's the third part. The third structure, which is a commercialized system, which is semi-automated or almost fully automated, depending on how you want it. We have systems that when it's set up, it can water by itself, and then all you have to do is just monitor the system.
Like an irrigation system or
irrigation system, which is the mist sprayers. They give the water and apply humidity, increase the humidity of the structure as well. So that's what we are mostly geared towards, because we want to do commercial quantity snails. Yeah.
Let's talk about your setup costs. Someone is listening, they're excited about it, they want to get involved. Apart from finding the land and apart from being able to do it at home if you have a piece of land as well, what are the setup conditionalities? How much, what size of land, how much money, of course, where to get help is Trisolace.
Yeah.
We're going to put your number out at the end of the day. But talk to us about how someone can get into that business as well.
Okay, so the good thing about snails is that they don't really require too much space. They are very space friendly. They are the most profitable farm animal per square meter, because you can keep up to about 20 snails in 1 square meter, and you can do vertical farming with snails. You can do horizontal, any size or any structure that you put them in, they will thrive. So with respect to structures, it will require, or it will depend on the person's plan, what they want to do basically with the structure, whether they want to go commercial. If you want to go to commercial size, then we have structures that are 10 meters by 5 meters, which are very large, that we can build for you. Those some start from 59,000 cedis, fully automated with all setups, and then
that's a high end.
High end, yes. And then there are the smaller ones that you can even start with your chop box, your school chop box that is left over. I know a lady that was doing it with her divider, that old furniture, yes, that we used to put in the room. She turned it down and just put some nets on it and was able to raise snails in there as well. So I think ingenuity counts here. If you want to do it on a much more smaller scale, then you can go wild with your own imagination. Possibly just take in mind that, one, they don't like light and they don't like insects. So anything that's a little bit elevated and shields them from light, you will be good. And they like soil, so you have to put in soil, preferably loose soil. So any loose soil that is devoid of glass or any broken material that might harm them, once you sieve it and you clean it up, you can put it in there and then they will be okay. Yeah.
Still on setup though, and I'm just trying to follow your slides here. Like all other livestock, you need minimum amount of male to fertilize the female. Yeah. How does it work with snails?
So the interesting thing with snails is that they are hermaphrodites, but they still require, mating to still lay eggs.
I'm confused.
That's why I say snails are the most profitable farm animal per square meter. They don't require males or females. They are all designated male and female at the same time. They are both male and female, and they all lay eggs.
Aquafa is looking at you.
And they all lay eggs.
What?
So snail is one of the animals that has 2 genitalia.
Right.
So they have both, and they require mating to do it. So the ritual.
So you need 2 separate snails to mate.
Exactly.
Regardless.
Exactly. The ritual for snail is this. So when they meet, they throw darts like arrows. So the one that gets hit first becomes a female at that time. Right? So, but we all, let's say me and you, we all.
You know this one?
We've studied them extensively, and there are documentaries on snail mating as well. We have also found some in our setups as well.
We'll talk about the mating dance. So for an investor, they need about 50 pieces, like you said, to start. Yeah. If I put, let's say, how much money do I need to start?
Okay, so their feed, mostly they eat everything in our environment that humans eat as well, for the exception of extreme salt. So if the salt is minimum, they eat it as well. So you can give them everything that we need. So we don't necessarily classify their feeding as expensive, because you can just put together some maize, other grains, and then put it together and give it to them in a powder form and add water.
So with what?
On the side.
5,000, with 10,000, can I start?
So possibly you can start with 2,000 cedis.
2,000.
So the 2,000 cedi setup that we have, for instance, that is pre-fabricated is a 6 feet by 2 feet box that is divided into 3. So we have 20 snails per each cubicle, and we give you soil, we give you snails, we give you everything that you need in there, and their plates, everything, the mist sprayers.
So with 2,000 Ghana cedis, I have a complete setup of the box, the soil,
with 60 snails.
60 snails.
Yes, that you can start your journey with.
And the plates to feed and everything, and all I have to do is sit down and watch them grow.
Yes.
You heard this on Masterclass.
Yes.
We want to make these things practical to you. Last week we brought you some information about
Yeah.
drones and people farming and other opportunities. Today we're giving you additional opportunities.
Yeah.
If you have 2,000 Ghana cedis, you want to start snail farming, call Trisolace at the end of this show. They will set you up 60 snails, a whole box, feeding, irrigation, everything, and all you do is sit down and watch them grow. If I put 2,000 cedis into it, how long am I getting how much back?
Okay, so snails are more long term. So people should be patient because snail is more long term. Like we started and then we thought it was just a 6 months thing because everyone was saying 6 months you reap your investment, but it wasn't true. So think more long term. That snails is a long term. So a year and a half mostly, or a year exactly, you can sell them. So one snail lay up to about 100 eggs. And then
100 eggs.
100 eggs, yeah, depending on the size of it. So if it's fairly matured, it can lay up to 100 eggs. And then the 100, you have about, worst case, let's say 25 of them surviving because they hatch on their own.
The survival rates are low.
Yes, because of the systems that we have. But if you're using our bigger system, for instance, it doesn't, the success rate is a bit higher than the boxes because they are still in the boxes and they will be feeding on the eggs as well. So snails eat their own eggs because it's full of calcium. So they also need calcium. Yes, they eat their own eggs. Cannibalism is a big thing there as well. So sometimes they even prey on the younger ones. So you have to sort some of the snails out, group them according to sizes as well. So
how does one get training for managing a snail farm? You're talking to us about the fact that they eat their eggs. You need to manage the feeding. You need to manage the lighting. How does one get training for this process? It's not just throwing the money in, but I've set it up. I want it to run properly. How?
So we provide free training for clients. We've provided free training since our inception, and we continue to do that. So through that, we launched a project called AgricGate. So agricgate.farm is a free online agric learning platform that could teach you everything agric, from snail farming, mushroom, beekeeping, vegetables, everything. So you can go on there and learn, or you can reach out to us. We do free training. So whenever you are ready, you can come to the office. It takes about 2 hours for you to be okay with the training. Snails is more observational than, so not all size fit all. So once we give you the basics, you will know that, oh, my snails, because of the weather condition, wake up around this time instead of maybe in a hotter climate where they wake up at this time. So once you have the basics, you can take care of them easily. Yeah.
Tell us also about your value chain for your business as you set it up and how you're plugging into mainstream industry, the food industry particularly.
Sure. So we have FDA approval to package snails. So the struggle of people fighting with slime was over when we're producing the snails in pouches and we're selling ready to eat, ready to put in sauces and soups. So you just cut it and pour it into sauces. That's one revenue stream. That is packaging or processing of the snail meat itself. I know people that do snail pizzas. So they have pizza flavored or pizza mixed snails. That's quite expensive as well.
In Ghana?
Yeah, I had one.
Where can we get snail pizza?
I had one in Ike's Kitchen in Kumasi.
Right.
Yeah, I had one.
Near the cultural center?
Yes, cultural center. That was where I had one. But in Accra, I'm not sure. But there's quite a lot of innovation in the food industry. So I'm sure someone can come up with
For those in the
snail.
food industry, please, you hear this on Masterclass. When we do Ghana month next year, let's do some of these.
Yes, you can do that. That is very ingenious. So you can do that. So the value chain for snails starts from the meat. So the meat is one of the most expensive meat per kilo in the animal industry so far, because the meat of snail, a kilo of snail meat will go for about 250 cedis. And that's the most expensive you can get so far. And then the second value chain is the shell. The shell is about 89% calcium base, and humans need calcium. So in the olden days, they would put the snail shell in fire, dry burn it, and then grind it very smoothly and be putting in old people's soups and sauces because of osteoporosis and other bone-related problems.
Is there an industry demand for snail shells.
Yes, exactly so. Because animal feed, those that prepare animal feeds are using the calcium. Because of the seashells having salt in them, most people that are a bit sensitive to the salt don't like using the seashells and other shells. So they prefer the snail shell that doesn't have any salt content. So it's quite sought after for animal feed, especially for fish feed and quail, other more sensitive animals that require very specific forms of nutrition. So that is also very, very much in high demand. So the snail meat itself, because our season is like only two, all the way in about 6 months, snails become scarce. Dry season, there's no snail anywhere, and if you have snail, it's like it's so sought after. You now dictate how much you want for that, and I know people that are intentionally hoarding snails and selling in around Christmas or December, where they sell it like 4 times the price, and making quite a lot from that as well. So that's the second value chain. And then the third value chain, which you rightfully said, is a slime, which we haven't even touched on in Ghana ever. But when you go to Japan, South Africa, some parts of Europe, they are using it for anti-aging creams. They're extracting the slime, using it for scar treatment, a lot of stress and dermatological, purposes.
Snail
mostly.
slime.
Yes.
So we don't only farm them for the meat, we also farm them for the slime.
Yeah. So during the Roman empires, they used to put snails on their faces, and the snails will cure redness for Caucasian skin and other diseases that they were having, animal bites, all that. Once the snail roamed freely, it will cure your skin issues. And even we have tested it here in Ghana.
You put snail on your face?
Yes. You put it, you just give it space, especially when someone gets burnt.
Wow.
You just allow it to roam on that part, and instead of it, going all...
Yes, the skin puffing up.
It doesn't do that. It goes straight up, and you don't have any scars.
But otherwise, you can also just rub the slime.
Exactly. So it depends. But extracting the slime, because it's a bodily fluid or a fluid of the snail, is quite difficult for you to extract
it.
Yes. So by leaving it there, definitely you are getting it from the right source, because now it's from the snail itself, from the horse's own mouth, sort of. So it applies it directly to you.
What's the consumption like that feeds on your supply from the farms in Ghana, in the restaurants, in the chop bars, and also internationally for exports?
So we sell out everything at the first month, January, and everything is sold out. 100%. So we make a chunk of our revenue first, the January 30th, everything is sold out. Export, local. So we export to UK, we export to some parts of Europe as well. So in UK specific, we do East London, where we have a lot of our Afro shops that take it. And then we send it live. We are one of the only companies that can export live snails to the UK. We also export live to Amsterdam, some parts of Germany, to the Toko shops. So they are also Afro shops, but the Dutch way of saying that. So we also export. But locally, when we package them, they are usually done in just the first month. And we don't have stock for the whole year. So people pre-order. And then when it is ready, we send it to them. People also dry a lot of our snails and send it outside when they are traveling, like Canada, US, everywhere. And they dry it and then keep it there as well as a delicacy.
You're going to tell me about the mating process again, but before we do that, I'm interested in that. Just so we can learn as well, so people understand if they want to go into it. But we want to take a quick message. When we come back, we get interactive, and then you can explain that to us. We take a quick message. We'll be right back.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your superstation Joy 99.7. As part of the agribusiness series, we're here in the studio with Felix Nyarko Appiah, CEO of Trisolace Farms, and he's talking to us about snail farming. Snail farming, Heliciculture, they call it. Very interesting thoughts he's sharing with us. Maybe you should also go into snail farming, either as a main or as a side hustle. Phone lines are open. I know you have a lot of questions. You want him to answer them. Phone lines are now open. Numbers to call 0302-216-541. That's 0302-216-541. You can also send us your comments or your questions on 055-1111-997. Today's edition of Masterclass is brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, they say good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Goyle PLC, your CIMG Hall of Fame and 2022 Petroleum Company of the Year, has taken the lead again. Goyle has opened ultra-modern liquefied petroleum auto gas service stations across the nation. The modern auto gas service is safe, it is clean, and it offers affordable alternative fuel for your vehicle. So look out for the Goyle auto service stations in the following areas: Bema Camp Goyle Service Station, Accra; Beshi Goyle Service Station, Accra; Pedu Junction Goyle Service Station, Cape Coast; Mpinsin Goyle Service Station, Takrade; Kentin Chrono Goyle Service Station, Kumasi. Goyle, delivering the safest and affordable gas at your convenience. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Phone lines are now open. Numbers to call 0302-216-541. Would you like to make 5.9 million Ghana cedis? If you will, pick up that phone, give me a call. 0302-216-541, or send us your comment on 055-1111-997. If your answer is no, let me ask you, how much did your business make last year? If you didn't make 5.9 million cedis, you should be calling me on 0302-216-541. We're going to be talking about the mating. I want you to explain it, but I have a quick comment here. This one, you didn't add. Okay, so my name is James, and I'm into cucumber farming. Can snails eat cucumber? That's the first question he has. It says, and can you grow snails in a sandy area? Because my place has sandy soil.
Okay, so cucumber, yes, excellent. They love it. They love juicy, leafy vegetables. So cucumber is on top of the list of things that snails love. Okay. They also love watermelons. Mm-hmm. So they eat a lot of melons, and not necessarily the red part of it. Mm-hmm. So after you have finished eating it, you can even give them the white part or the green part of it. And sandy, no, because it doesn't retain water. We want quite a sizable amount of moisture in there that the snails can thrive on when they are ready for the setup.
Right. Okay, I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from?
Oh, my name is Ken, calling from Tema.
Right, Ken. Talk to me, Ken.
Yeah, so I am 19 years old. I was sending the program to go and listen to a music program, and the number you get, the amount of money you just mentioned, just let me stop. So, please, so how can I also, get that? Because though I'm young, but I'm very, very ambitious.
Right. Ken, I like your spirit.
So I wanted to know, how can I also get involved? If I don't have money, what can I do? Maybe I can save some money. I can also start and then also get that enough money so that I can marry early.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm excited about your energy, and I think that's the energy that we should all have to try and be ambitious and do something for ourselves. Ken, we're going to put out the number for Trisolace. So what I'll ask you to do is to take that number down and give Felix a call at the end of this show, and he will walk you through everything that you need to know. So we'll put your number out at the end of the show, so that we can be a part of it. I've got another comment on social media. This one, okay, you didn't add your name. It says, please, I'm interested to try snail farming. Can we have a contact number? Yes, you can. Do you have the number now?
Yes. We
Do you want to put it out?
Yes. Sure.
Okay.
So
Let's do it now. We'll do it again at the end of the
okay.
show.
Okay. So it is 0249 234 809.
Please take it again for me very slowly.
0249
Yes.
234 809.
Right.
So they can call only during work hours,
Okay.
obviously. So when you call and you don't get us, you can get us in the mornings.
Are they able to send a text message?
Sure. It's on WhatsApp as well.
Okay.
So your safe bet will be a WhatsApp call.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. This one says, "Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you for the education on snail farming. I'm Hayford from Bato. I had training on snail farming at ATTC in Accra Institute and have my certificates to start my own snail farming. About 400 pieces of snail. Unfortunately, the Akosombo Dam spillage came and flooded their pen, and they all died. Please, can I have your contact number to chat with you? Hayford, please don't stop. I like your energy. You started with 400. If you can start with 60 at 2,400, you will make phenomenal benefit. But don't stop. We'll put out the number again at the end of the show. Please keep listening, and then you can start again. This one, you didn't add your name. It says, "Great discussion, Yaw Masterclass. As an agric farming enthusiast, I'm encouraged by this discussion. Thank you to your guest. And thank you also." Let's talk about the mating very quickly.
Yeah.
If you go into this, you should understand how the mating works.
Yes.
So that you know what to do right and what to do wrong. So how does the mating work?
So the mating, once they have a conducive environment, which is ample moisture and good soil, then they will lay eggs. Snail can actually retain reproduction fluid up to about a whole year if the conditions are not favorable. So they can postpone getting getting young ones if the conditions are not favorable. So the word here is favorable, which is ample moisture and good soil. So once they get
a bit
that
of darkness as well.
very dark. They want very good shielded away from light. So once they meet, then they start the darts throwing. So they throw darts at each other, and the one that gets hit first will be more fertilized than the other ones.
The darts are made of what?
So they are made of their calcium as well.
Right.
It's like fingernails. So they throw towards each other, and the one that gets hit first becomes the female. Then the other person brings their appendage, and the other person, and then they interchange fluids.
That's how the mating occurs.
Yes, that's how the mating occurs.
So then if you have less male than female, that process will take quite a bit of time, wouldn't it?
They are all hermaphrodites.
You said that earlier, didn't
Yes,
you?
they are all hermaphrodites. So the two of them are, so basically if you have 50, you now have 25 couples or pairs, and they are now going to determine who becomes a male and a female.
So you should always have an even number then.
Yeah, and mind you, they are all going to lay eggs. Even male and female are going to lay eggs. The only downside is that the female are going to be less, the male are going to be less fertile. That is the fertilization process. If the percentage is about 40%, the female will have about 60% more chance.
Let me understand this. That dart throwing process,
Yeah.
which leads to the copulation
Yeah.
between the two, is that the same process that fertilizes the two of them?
Yes, the same
That one process
Yes,
fertilizes the two of them.
Yes. So if you don't get hit, then you become a male in the sense, but you still give out eggs, and possibly your hatching rate will be less than the female. So they will give out a lot more eggs, and it will be fertilized, and a lot more.
For example,
will
if
hatch.
every one snail success rate 25 out of 100, 25%,
Yeah.
and you have, let's say, 2 snails,
Yeah.
that means out of 2 snails, you can be getting 50
50
more
yes,
snails.
young ones. Yeah, out of that, which is very
That
lucrative.
is a high rate of
a
reproduction.
very high rate. Yes.
And this is once a year.
Once a year, yes. They only do mating once a year.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Anyways, phone lines are still open. Numbers to call 0302216541. We're here talking about snail farming with Felix Nyarko Appiah. I have a few questions that I want to ask. How many metric tons did you have to ship to make that 5.9 million? I'm still fixated on that 5.9 million.
So according to the CSIR, Ghana consumes, and the Ghana Statistical Service, in 2014, Ghana consumed 15,000 tons of snails. And out of that, only 2,000 tons were gotten here in Ghana. All the other were imported. So we import from other venues as well. And
These are import things.
yes,
This whole agribusiness series is meant to help to flip that. I was talking about Yemwadie, how much we put on the national budget to import
exactly.
it. I thought it was all from Ghana.
no, a lot.
So there's
A
room
lot.
to make an impact in
A
terms
lot.
of even the snail farming. 15,000 tons and Ghana produced only 2,000 tons.
2,000 tons. And even that we pick from the forest. No commercial farms can tell us that they have so much snails that they are even able to do 10% of the market.
How many tons
share.
did your farm produce?
We
last
did
year?
we did about 3 tons, which is 3,000 kgs. And even that was how we were able to get that amount, the 5.9 million. Not just the revenue. That is just revenue, though. So if you put it hand in hand to other things, you have to do very little to get quite a lot because snails are very expensive. Now that we are going to enter into the dry season, you have people selling 2 snails like a fist, like this one, for 100 cedis. And getting to Christmas, 1 snail like a fist in soup goes for 100 cedis. So that's how expensive and lucrative snails can
So
be.
it's August now. If we put something together and we started, by August next year, we should be.
It should be ready selling. Yes.
I got another comment on social media. You didn't add your name. This one says, "Good afternoon. Can I use a structure like a walled concrete platform that is roofed?"
Yes. So the only metric is, like we already said, the underline is no light, very little invasion from other insects and other animals. So if you have all that done, then sure, you can put them in. They will thrive. Yes.
Interesting. You're talking about 15,000 tons being. I was going to ask how big is the international market, but what happens when your snails reach maturity and you're not able to sell? I mean, I don't even think that's possible because we're importing. We have a deficit of about 13,000, which we're importing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're not able to plug in properly at the right point.
Yeah.
You don't know which market to sell, and it leads me to our next question. The cartelling is there's a cartel for every agri product in Ghana.
Yes, there is.
Are there cartels for snails?
Yes, there are market women that if I'm
Those
not careful,
cartels, those
if I'm
cartels,
not careful, I might not wake up tomorrow because they come to the source or they go remote, go to the forest, give people batteries. Do you know when they go to the villages, they just give them batteries for their headlamps, and the guys go in there, pick all the snails. They buy it at so little the cost. And once it comes all the way to the promised land, which is Accra, then
it gains
the price
value,
skyrockets. And that's how they get their snails, because there are very little farms for snails, very little commercial farms currently producing snails.
The forests are producing them all year round.
And now we are taking all that down. The other bad practices on land, galamsey, sun winning, uncontrolled pesticide, for instance, is the main culprit for us losing all the fauna in the forest, basically. And that is very worrying, because most people buy fertilizer, pesticides and all that and just spray it rampantly, and it runs off into the forest and then just keeps on killing.
Snails used to be quite affordable. I mean, on the trips between Cape Coast and Accra. Now, a jute sack sells for 600 cedis. The last time I said 600. What for?
That's even generous, because they are. I'm not sure the sizes, but if you're looking at the sizes that are deemed edible here in Ghana, that's even much more expensive.
I've got Francis from Oyarifa. Francis says, "Great program. On a lighter note, my father-in-law tried snail farming, but all the snails ran away. How do you construct the structure to avoid?" I think you spoke about it earlier. Do you want to just touch on that quickly?
So make it as secure as possible. No light, very little air going in, because they thrive on humidity and they walk on fluid. So if you have a lot of wind going in, it will dry them out and they will die. So it has to be a very secured
you should
environment.
enclose them.
Enclosed,
so they don't run away.
Exactly.
Okay. Margaret Reese says, "Do snails attract snakes in their pen?" This is from Kwame Jantua.
No. So I would emphatically say no, because snails are not mostly snakes track animals by heat signature, and snails give very little to no heat signatures at all. So snakes cannot track them, but the downside is that maybe where you are, there are other rodents that might be attracted by this snakes, but not the snails, because they give very little heat signature for snakes.
Brian Ejako, I think from Accra, is saying, when is the best time to start snail farming, in the wet or in the dry season?
The best time is now. Because
Okay, but I think he wants to know seasonally.
okay, seasonally you shouldn't start off season. So be ready for it, because
So when is on season?
okay, so like I said, there isn't really an on season, because you have to be ready for them. Snails, when you move snails, they have to get about a month to be acclimatized with the location. So if you want to wait till the rain season comes and you move them from wherever you're buying them from, you are losing about a month or two, because they have to get used to the environment before they start laying.
They're quite a choosy.
Yeah, they are very delicate, and their ecosystem is so
type of livestock, isn't it?
It's crazy, but it's worth it, because once you have patience and you're able to go through the year, you are going to reap a lot of benefits.
Okay,
yeah.
so Brian, there's no on season or off season. Just create, once you can simulate the right conditions.
Exactly.
It's on season, so you can do it all year round.
Yeah.
And if it takes you 1 year to do this, my recommendation is, if you have the funds, you can do it every quarter. So every quarter you are reaping on
Exactly.
anniversary.
Exactly.
You do it in March, you do it in June, you do it in August, you do it in December. So then anniversary, every 3 months you are reaping.
You're reaping.
And that becomes
Yeah.
a good cycle
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. This is exciting, but that's all time will allow us. What should we not forget in this conversation, and where can we find Trisolace?
Okay, so Trisolace has a headquarters in Dansoman.
Here in Accra?
Yeah, in Accra. We have a big facility. So currently we have also acquired a 36-acre farmland that we're looking for partners, collaborators, investors, anyone that is interested. We can sit down and then look at expansion, because the market is huge and we are looking at bringing everyone on board. But there's very little that we can do alone. Even we haven't even taken 10% of our market share yet, even
So
for the
there's room for
5.9.
partnership.
A lot of partnerships that we are looking at.
Where do we find you online?
So online, you can go on our website, trisolacefarms.com. You can also email me on felix@trisolacefarms.com, and then on all our social media platforms too. You can get us on Trisolace
And let's put
Farms.
the number out
Yeah.
one more time.
Yeah. So 0249 234 809. And if you want training, do not hesitate. We give free training. No one is going to say something for the boys or anything otherwise. Once you come to our end, we're going to give you free training. And you are welcome to our Abri facility as well any day.
I've got a final comment on social media. This one is from Amano Latte, University of Education in Winnipeg. It says, can I buy some snails being sold by the roundabout at Winnipeg Junction and put them in my structure and start?
So snails, up to about 3 years, they become menopausal. They don't lay.
So they're not only hermaphrodites, they're also menopausal.
Yes.
What a sensitive type of livestock, isn't it?
They pass through all the stages that we humans pass through. I think we are more related
Aren't they very
than other
touchy?
animals.
First of all, they're hermaphrodites.
Very.
And then they
very.
take forever. And then
Exactly.
the male and female can lay eggs.
So after-
and then they don't like light.
Up to about 3 years, you might not know the ones that you are going. I'm sure you will look out for the big ones, because you think that's a more viable specimen for your farm.
But the last snail you ate, was it menopausal? Anyway, this has been Masterclass here on your super station, Joy 99.7. That's all time will allow us. As part of the agribusiness series, we've been talking today about snail farming. Next week, my producer is signaling me. Next week, we have the privilege of getting Felix back in the studio. Felix, I'm excited you're coming back next week.
Same here.
Because we have more information to share.
Exactly,
We want people to be able to start and come back and testify. Felix Nyarko Appiah, CEO of Trisolace, sharing those thoughts with us. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Masterclass. God willing, we come your way again next week.